Hello and welcome to a special Finals Eve Thursday edition of Talk of the Town. First to the Port Adelaide Premiership champion. Hello, Warren Tredrea.
Good evening, Mr. Costello. Where are you? You look like you're undercover and you got yourself a job.
It's a very, very good question. I'm on the road for a current affair, so scumbags like you better watch out because we're going to bring justice in the form of a camera. But actually today I'm in Geelong, so might see some Cats fans as they await the Magpies and the Sam McClure, the chief football reporter for the Nine Network. Hello.
Seb, can you just give me an exact location? Me and Tredders will get on the phone. We'll send a few people down there. I think you need a bit of a heckling from behind there.
Look, we're not far from the Westfield down in Geelong, so that gives you a bit of an indication. But look, let's talk about my footy club. A long way from here, the jewel of the North, the Essendon Football Club in Melbourne. Danaher wants to leave Essendon for Brisbane. Sam, you broke this story. And I got to say, it's a bit of a dark day for my club.
Yeah, it seems to be the feeling of a lot of Essendon supporters, in all seriousness, Seven Treaders. And Lloydie on Classified, this week said it was one of the saddest days that he can remember at the club. And, this is a club that's been through a lot fairly recently that we don't need to remind people of. So I wasn't surprised at all. Danaher was always going to leave. I thought he would leave. In fact, he would have left last year if the club had have let him. Same story with Fantasia. I guess Treaders, Sard's the one that stings. 5-year offer on the table. They clearly wanted to keep him. They, from what I'm told from coterie groups, were moving heaven and earth, in fact, to keep him. And yet he decided to go to a club that, let's be honest, hasn't been the beacon of success in the last decade.
No, but the club he's going to, they need those players that they're going to get. We talk about Williams looking to leave GWS. Midfield needs some speed around the midfield. And then they also need some speeder in the back half, which Sard can certainly give. And we know Simpson's retired. So that mixes fits perfectly. The other mix they'll need is a small forward, but it looks like Eddie Betts will go on. So that'll be the next piece in the puzzle for Carlton. But I think it's great recruiting from Carlton. I do think it's a bit sour grapes from Essendon, but we do see that from a lot of clubs when they lose players. But they offer him, 5 years, $650,000 a year for a halfback flanker who finishes third in their best and fairest and had a really, really good year. But then they say when he's going out the door that he can't take feedback and he's a fragile personality and we know people are going to be tough. So you don't do that. And effectively they must see that that's not that bigger issue if they're going to offer him 5 years, $650,000. But the big issue for the Bombers is they've got to sort themselves out. You've got a new coach coming in. Clearly the players are disgruntled. Clearly they're trying to ship players in and move them on. And Danaher, if only 12 months ago they took those 2 first-round picks, because the way those picks were offered way back then from Sydney, I think, what pick would that have been this year? Gold mine. Yeah. A gold mine.
So, Treaders, what does all this actually mean? This is the question that I keep asking people that have been inside footy clubs. You've been inside very successful ones. You've been inside not so successful ones, both with the same club. What does it mean when you talk about environment? What does that mean day to day? Does it mean more people are talking? Does it mean feedback is more upfront and in your face? Does it mean that more people are wrapping arms around people? What does it look like?
Well, what it looks like is simple. It's everything. But to go through some of the everything, it's the direction. Everyone, even though you've got 40 different personalities, they're all going for that one direction. Doesn't matter how they're getting there. They set their behaviours. They all believe and own their behaviours. And a great example is the Brisbane Lions. A great example this year is Port Adelaide, who've come from outside the 8 to now in the hunt. They'll host a prelim final in just over a week's time. There it looked like there's a certain opportunity. We've seen it from Richmond the last 3 or 4 years. It's happy players, it's content players in terms of opportunity to where they play, but also financially what their contracts look like. What we're seeing here is Danaher, who wants greater opportunity, hasn't had reliability in his body. He's putting belief last year in the Sydney program, this year to go to Brisbane in the Brisbane program. No doubt there's a significant pay packet, but he also wants a fresh set of eyes, a fresh set of opportunity, a different state. Sard doesn't want a different state. He wants to get paid really well, and he wants to go to a club he thinks believes in him more than the Bombers do, and that's Carlton. So it's a lot of different variables. And as you say, happy life is happy footballer. And when you are happy, you're performing. And when you've got mates and teammates all performing well, it is a wonderful thing to be a part of. On the other side, when no one's happy, everyone's disgruntled, won't take feedback, people are feeling blame for one another, which seems like it's Essendon right now, it's a pretty bad place to play. But I think at the end of the day, you've got to have people stick. And I've heard Malcolm Blight in the past talk about the glue. Brisbane, a few years ago, was shot. right? Everyone's saying shut them down. No good. They need financial assistance. Gold Coast, the same thing. What's happened? Some of their young guns and senior players have stuck. They've created the glue and others are sticking around it. And all of a sudden, they're a very, very happy, quick family.
I think that Seb might need some glue for his hair down there.
Just a second, boys. Talk amongst yourselves for a sec. I'll be back in a moment.
This is absolutely extraordinary. Our fearless leader, Treaders, has been basically blown away.
All right. Let's just
close your eyes before you do it, mate. Close your eyes before you do it. That's sun cream. You picked up the wrong can.
Okay.
That actually made
okay. That's right. We'll keep that there on hand. Sorry about that minor hair emergency, my friends. Let's talk a little bit of jumper clashes. So Eddie Maguire, ever protective of the Collingwood strip. It affects what the Cats will wear. Sam, unpack exactly what the differences will be between the jumpers on the weekend. But Treaders, I want to get you coming off the back as to whether this really matters.
Well, I mean, explain the jumper clash before Treaders gets involved. Essentially, Eddie Maguire believes that there was a handshake agreement 20 years ago with Geelong that, you know, they would wear the black shorts and the Geelong would wear the white shorts. And then the last time they played, it didn't happen. And, you know, Collingwood were forced to wear the white and Geelong wear the blue. And it was a terrible jumper clash. And now it looks like Collingwood are going to wear the black shorts with their away clash jumper that's not really a clash jumper, and Geelong will wear the white. It's farcical as far as I'm concerned. I mean, multi-billion-dollar leagues around the world. Manchester United's third kit is black and white, for goodness sake. It looks like Newcastle. No one cares. I mean, if there's even a hint of a jumper clash on Saturday night, Treaders, in a semi-final, like, what a joke that will be. Does anyone... What matters, surely, Treaders, is the emblem and the players representing. Does it really matter what colours they are?
No, and when you're a player, yeah, you might see a bit of Guernsey, but you actually know voices, you know direction, you have awareness where other players are, you know what they look like, you know what they sound like. I find this an absolute debacle from the AFL. This has happened for how many years? So many years. As you say, I'm a Gunners supporter. Remember what happened when Richmond in 2007 came up against the top qualifying Adelaide Crows in a grand final? They were a clash strip. Do you think Richmond fans feel bad that they won a premiership in a clash strip? They couldn't give a stuff. Absolutely. Why doesn't the AFL step up? The AFL's attitude on this is, one, let the club sort it out. Well, that's when you open the door for Eddie Maguire and Frank Costa and David Koch or Jeff Kennett. It only seems one club has great issues. Essendon's a proud club. They have a clash strip that changes significantly. Collingwood's clash strip is not enough. You know, maybe go all black or all white. We're talking for 1 week. As you talk about soccer overseas, English Premier League, the English Football Division, La Liga, Serie A, the European Champions League is all governed by FIFA, who actually make a decision. The problem here, the AFL don't have the you-know-whats to make a tough call and demand everyone has a clash strip. You might have to wear it maybe once a year. Well, that's part of the deal. Here we are in a COVID year. We can get a season underway living in hubs, but we still can't sort out Guernseys. What a disgrace.
Yeah, I'm completely with Treaders here.
Warren Tredrea for AFL Commission Chairman. That has encompassed every feeling and emotion I have about this issue.
So I miss one thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
Also,
Found the desk and somebody stop this wind in Geelong. Carry on, Sam.
Also, boys, what I reckon that, and I'm not trying to be cynical here with bringing up the finances of it, but Treaders, what those leagues overseas have worked out is that it is a gold mine every year. They bring out a new clash jumper. So you're a Gunners supporter, Treaders. I'm a Chelsea supporter. Their third kit that they wore last weekend is hot pink. It's awful, but I would buy it. If someone gave it to me, I would have it, because it's got the Chelsea emblem on it. It doesn't matter. I mean, there's never a hint of a jumper clash in the English Premier League. And that's 11 on 11, where it's much more spread out. They stick in their positions, so it's unlikely that you're going to have a clash anyway. We've got
Sam, to be fair, you are a waistcoat wearer. So, when it comes to fashion choices, there is a question mark over your head.
I think it's very clear, and it's not as though I'm up against much with you two, but all the style in this group is here.
Yeah, okay. No worries, cool cat. Get your skateboard and roll on out of here. The other issue too that I want to highlight, we go back on these jumpers. 2014, Port played Richmond in a qualifying or elimination final at Adelaide Oval. Some of the AFL put them pretty much the same. So Port had to actually, she wore a prison bar jumper. Well, I can tell you right now, just touching your other point, how much money. Port Adelaide's made over $2 million this year because in round 2 in the showdown, they were set to wear the historic Port Adelaide Magpies prison bar jumper. That's $2 million they've made. Imagine what all clubs would do. We're talking about getting out of COVID hole in terms of finances. That would help clubs just bankroll it. And that's why I don't know why the AFL would say everyone has to have one and maybe every 5 years it has to change. You create turning over the money. Because what do the fans want? I want the latest thing with the latest sponsor, the latest badge, the latest emblem, and the latest colour. And every kid doesn't want last year's, they want this year's. And that's what an economy is about. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. And Seb, I'm sure you want to finish on this point, but I know that Eddie's strong point is Collingwood are black and white, and they are black and white stripes. And that's what we are. It's what we've been for 100 years. That's what we want to be. Completely understand that. But from my perspective, and from the younger generation's perspective, younger than me, Collingwood will always be Collingwood. Whether they wear black and white, which they will for 95% of the time, or they bring something out that's green, so it doesn't clash. The Collingwood emblem will never change.
Yep. No, there are some words I will always associate with Collingwood, Sam, that I probably won't share here on Talk of the Town. Let us gaze at the finals brackets for the weekend. Collingwood, Geelong, Richmond, St Kilda. Who is under the most pressure, Treaders?
I think Geelong's certainly under pressure because everyone's talking about their poor finals record, 3 from 11 or something like that. But the interesting one with Geelong, Richmond are the other favourite, so they're the pressure 2 teams because they finish higher. But Geelong, the bookies have Geelong at $1.65 as of recently. Like, that's just no way. I think Collingwood are up to this game in their eyeballs. So I still think the 2 favourites will win, but geez, I reckon Collingwood's a red-hot chance. I think the Saints may struggle against Richmond because they'll get a bit of an uppercut from last week, but the pressure's certainly on the 2 teams that lost last week.
Sam?
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like, and the other reason for the uppercut, Treaders, with the Saints is that, they lose Ryder and Carlisle and Long. 3 not only pretty important players, but pretty important structurally and positionally for them, given that one's a ruckman and one's a key defender. I think that the Tigers will take care of that. I thought West Coast Collingwood was a toss of the coin last week. Ended up being that. It was 1 point. I think Geelong and Collingwood is as much a toss of the coin. So I completely agree with Treaders.
All right. Well, it might be the quickest version ever of Seb's speedy segment, or Triple S, as I like to call it, because we're out the elements down here in Geelong in semi-finals week. Put the time on the clock, get that music going, and let's start the ball rolling here. Treaders, Richmond are 20% better with Tom Lynch.
Yes.
I think I would agree with that. Hey, Sam, you kind of touched on this, but true or false, St Kilda are stuffed without Long, Ryder and Carlisle.
Well, they're not stuffed, but they won't win. I'm not going to do a Kane Gordon and say they're making up the numbers, though.
I think we need a Conzi. Look, say Collingwood were to exit this week, Treaders. True or false, the Collingwood Football Club Mad Monday should be at the Pink Flamingo on the Gold Coast?
Sounds good.
I've never been, but they've got all the COVID things in place, so that's a good place to start for that particular club. Sam, just give us a name. Who's going to win the Brownlow medal?
Lachie Neale.
Okay, Treaders, you got anything back up for that?
Well, hopefully Travis Boak, but I think Lachie Neale will win it. It's out of those 2.
And I finish here. True or false, we should never, ever do an outside broadcast again as part of Talk of the Town, Treaders.
False. I think your Fringe is looking as good as it ever has.
And that ends Seb's speedy segment for this week. Gentlemen, let's get into the Social Club, an exceptional piece of social media. He is the games record holder for the Australian Football League. His name is Boomer Harvey, and he's got a new friend.
When you've broken the most games played for the AFL with 432. Oh, I know. You're fucking walking a horse down the road. That's what you do.
Walk your buddy. And no photo bag.
Jesus Christ, but
What about that? A 4-legged animal.
That's got to be a Shetland pony, doesn't it? It's got to be a small one.
Oh,
that or Boomer's grown. What's he do? Is he got a property or something? Just walks the horse. Normally you ride a horse, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, you can walk him as well, Treaders.
How often you walk the horse?
Well, I actually, in the last 7 days, have adopted a greyhound, and it is more of a small horse than it is a large dog. I'll tell you that.
Really? What's it called? What's the name of the greyhound?
Her name is Diva because she refused to race. When they took her out to the track, they'd send the rabbit around, and she'd just look at him as if to say, "What do you want me to do?" So she's 0 wins from 0 starts, and her name is Diva, and she spends most of the time what she's doing right now, that is collapsed on her bed, sleeping and snoring.
Quite appropriate, isn't it? That you're yeah, exactly. Quite appropriate. You've got a dog called Diva. When you had a little bit of a diva moment earlier, you and Eddie had a crack at you, didn't he?
Did Eddie have a crack? I don't know. I haven't got any marks. I haven't got any scars. Clearly wasn't a good one.
Verbal, mate. Verbal.
Well, guys, before we go, Treaders, quick short thing out of the 2 matchups for the weekend.
Tigers.
Sammy, you got anything? Give us one out of the Cats or the Pies.
No. Geelong?
Hang on, that's going to get some hairspray before we wind down. This has been Talk of the Town. It's just about to rain in the beautiful city of Geelong, so I think we have timed this perfectly. Port Adelaide Premiership champion Warren Tredrea, thanks for your time.
See you next week when the Power will win and get into the grand final.
Yes. And Sam McClure, Chief Football Reporter of the Nine Network. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Sebastian. Take care out there.
Thank you for joining us on Talk of the Town.